Wanted to show how you can make that classic snare build that's really a staple in like the tech house, deep house genre. You can hear it in tracks like In a Yuma by Chris Lake or Atmosphere by Fisher. The first thing that I would do is I created a MIDI channel and I dragged a drum rack onto that channel. For me, it's a lot easier to be working in MIDI when I'm creating a build, because if I want to make any changes to, you know, the snare rhythm or pattern, I can just go into the MIDI clip and do it within the MIDI clip without affecting any of the automations that I have in place, like, you know, filters or reverbs. A couple of things that you typically find in this type of snare build, it's going to be 16th notes for the majority of the build. And then the artist is just automating a few other things to keep it interesting. So after we have the snare drawn in 16th notes, I might do something like this where I automate the velocity. Maybe we have something that automates down like this. And then again, I can copy and paste that out and it sounds like this. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a groove or like a march, as opposed to just like those straight 16th notes. Everything is the same velocity. Let me just copy this out to the whole pattern. The other thing that we could do is we can add an actual groove. And so again, another reason why I like working in MIDI for this is because you can just drag the groove onto the MIDI track. It's going to assign that groove to your MIDI without you actually having to do anything. If we were to try and assign a groove to the audio way of creating this build, we would have to create the build, then we'd have to consolidate it, and then we would have to assign the swing to it. So just makes your life a little bit easier. And the exact swing that I'm using can be found in like the Ableton Groove pool called Swing MPC 3016 Swing MPC 3000s. Oh my god. Swing MPC 3 set. Swing MP3 Swing MPC 3016 54. Why don't we automate a filter? You can also add some reverb. I'm just automating the dry white over time. You can also automate an EQ to filter at the lows as you get closer to the drop. One last thing that I like to automate is the fade out parameter. So that's this section right here. And if the higher the fade out is, the tighter it sounds, because it's cutting off that tail of the snare. So if I start maybe around here, it sounds pretty tight. Now, if I automate this fade out to turn down over time, it's going to let more and more of that tail through. So as we get closer to kind of that drop section, we're trying to build up some tension. It's letting more of that tail through. And obviously there's a reverb playing as well. You know, you get the idea. There's a ton of other things you can automate too. You can automate the gain. You can automate like a delay. You can really add any type of effect on there that you want. You can change the rhythm in certain parts. That's really where kind of the creativity comes in. But we've taken our drum build from sounding really kind of static like this the whole time to sounding something like this.